Good evening and welcome to Six Side News. I'm your lead studio anchor, Rathan. Tonight, we take an in-depth look into how socioeconomic outlook in the national development, focusing on UN SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 4, quality education. We open with a sobering report from the New Straits Times. Over 1.2 million Malaysians remain trapped below the poverty line, with Sabah persistently topping the list of vulnerable communities. This monetary strain triggers a devastating domino effect on the day. An exclusive figure by the Straits Times highlight a heart-wrenching modern paradox. Four school kids at home sharing a single, dying smartphone to access their classroom. This is digital poverty, a barrier knocking needy children out of quality education. To break down these recent poverty numbers, we cross over lead to our senior economic correspondent, Hanis. Hanis, walk us through the data.
Thank you, Razan. The sheer volume of the data compiled in the New Straits Times report demands an immediate pivot in how we evaluate our national progress. When we look at the figure of 1.2 million citizens living in poverty, we have to look at the structural consequences behind this statistic. What really stands out in this report is that despite the overall national economic growth, poverty remains stably high in specific pockets of the country. This isn't just about temporary setbacks, it points to deeply rooted regional imbalances. Rural communities face slower wage growth, minimal industrial investment, and highly volatile local job markets, which leaves them vulnerable while urban centers advance. To understand what this looks like in the most affected region, we turn to our ground reporter in East Malaysia. Putri is now live with us in Sabah with a first-hand look at these geographic disparities. Putri, what are you seeing on the ground?
Thank you, Hanis. Being here on the ground in Sabah, the region that officially tops the national list, really forced us to stop talking about poverty in broad, abstract terms. The stark reality is that regional imbalance altered the daily survival of thousands of families. In this community, poverty manifests as low agricultural yield, lack of access to well-paying employment, and insufficient baseline development. While current government frameworks are actively distributing direct cash aid, our local analysis shows that this measure only offers short-term relief. If we want a permanent benchmark of recovery, we have to look beyond a household's bank account. This is why policy experts are advocating for a multi-dimensional lens, one that evaluates poverty by looking at actual living conditions, healthcare access, and housing stability. Without shifting to this targeted assistance, rural communities will remain isolated from the broader economy. Back to you in the studio, Razan.
Thank you, Hanis and Putri, for that crucial analysis. As our team just established, poverty is an interconnected cycle. When a household faces several financial strains, the children's learning environment is often the first to suffer, especially now that digital learning is a permanent fixture of our academic system. This transitions us directly into SDG 4 quality education. We turn to our educational affairs team, Nuru and Akish, who are tracking this crisis. Nuru, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Razan. As highlighted in the moving investigative piece by the Straits Times, post-pandemic digital access is no longer just a helpful tool. Digital access is education. Yet, for low-income families, this shift has introduced a devastating roadblock. The report brings us a vivid human picture of what this looks like for school kids huddled together at home, attempting to complete a full day of lesson on one single dying smartphone. Think about the physical and logistical impossibility of that. When digital learning is a permanent part of the curriculum, children without adequate device cannot view presentation, download worksheet, or participate in a real-time virtual classroom. The root causes are simple: low household income paired with unequal internet infrastructure. When national policies assume every human is equipped for the digital age, a lack of hardware means needy children are fundamentally locked out of quality education. To explain how this gap spiral into a larger societal crisis, here is our social analysis. Akish?
Thanks NURU, when a child is locked out of their digital classroom, the immediate impact is a sharp decline in academic performance, but the long-term consequences are far more dangerous for our country's social fabric. Missing out on digital literacy stunts community growth and prevent these students from competing for high-skilled jobs in the future workforce. This creates a vicious cycle. Digital poverty becomes a direct consequence of monetary poverty and in turn guarantees that the next generation remains low income. The gap between the rich and the poor simply widens. To break this loop, we must change how we design our social programs to guide us through the structural recommendation. We hand over to our policy analyst, PARVIN.
Thank you, Akish. From a policy perspective, the path forward requires moving away from outdated poverty metrics. We strongly advocate for the implementation of a comprehensive multidimensional poverty index. This will allow the government to identify vulnerable households by checking their actual quality of life, specifically checking their access to digital tools and reliable data. To address this immediately, we propose two targeted recommendations. First, the government must rapidly expand digital infrastructure into rural zones and high poverty regions like Sabah. Second, we recommend building subsidized community technology centers within low-income neighborhoods, providing students with guaranteed free access to high-speed internet and modern learning devices. By treating digital access as a baseline human rights under SDG 4, we don't just fix an educational problem, we directly dismantle the foundation of generational poverty under SDG 1. Back to you in the studio, Razan.
Thank you, Nuru, Akish, and Parvin for that vital structural breakdown. Tonight's broadcast underscores a definitive truth. SDG 1 and SDG 4 must go hand in hand. We cannot achieve quality education when monetary and digital poverty stand as barriers for our youth. That concludes our special report on Fake News. On behalf of our team, Hanis, PUTERI, Nurul, Akish, and Parvin, I'm Razan. Thank you for watching and good night.